Yeah, let's keep this rolling. I'm really excited for this event. It's really focused on one of my favorite places on the planet, Patagonia. So I'm going to bring in John Francis shortly. John Francis retired as the Vice President for Research, Conservation, and Exploration at the National Geographic Society. He's a marine biologist. He was a grantee with the National Geographic. He began his career studying the behavioral ecology of seals and sea lions on remote islands in North and South America, and a film on his work led to a role as a producer of wildlife films, so covering everything from chimps and tigers to whales and sharks. So let's get John in here with us now. Hey, John, how are you?
I'm great. How are you, Joe?
Good to see you.
Likewise, this is great.
Yeah, it's been a wild day. I think we've touched all 6 continents, and tomorrow we'll hit Antarctica, so not too shabby.
I'm happy to be involved, talking tomorrow, of course, but being involved in this chat with Kristine Tompkins, I feel honored, basically, to be able to interview her, and hopefully can do her justice. She's a fabulous person.
All right, excellent. Well, I'm going to pop out. I'll let you introduce her, and then I'll pop her in, and you guys can have a great conversation together, and then we'll explore some amazing rewilding projects. We've got 3 great videos to check out.
Excellent.
All right.
Well, I want to thank everyone for joining us, and to take some time to get to hear from Kristine Tompkins, who is one of my heroes in the conservation arena. I got to know an awful lot of conservationists around the world over 20 years working with National Geographic, and she stands out among them, not just because of her unique passion for a wonderful part of the world, Patagonia, but also because she's a leader historically, she and her husband, in the world of conservation philanthropy. And I think I'm hoping the model that she and Doug Tompkins have set will take root tenfold in the years to come. And it's just very, very fortunate for our planet, really, that Kris and Doug took the steps they did. So I'd like Kris to join me, and maybe we can have a little bit of a chat on what it is that made her tick through all these wonderful steps that her husband and now she alone are taking on. Kris, great to see you as always.
Hi, John. Nice to be here.
Oh, good. It's quite a festival, and I think it wouldn't be complete without hearing from people who are really doing the most difficult work, I think, when it comes to motivating people to set aside large tracts of land and doing it with a mindset of repopulating now lost species from the regions, as well as caring for the people that surround these parks and wild areas so that they can be safeguarding them for future generations. This is the hardest work, I think, and we chatted a bit about you and how you came to it. I was reading some of your the bios that are floating around. There are plenty, but I read you were a rock climber early on and then a competitive ski racer. I didn't know that you lived in Venezuela for a while. What was that about?
Oh, our father was a rancher where we grew up, but also a chemical engineer, and went into the petroleum industry. And so we moved to Venezuela when I was 8, so 1958.
For how long were you there?
3 years.
Okay, because I always wondered how you spoke Spanish so well.
That was not, that really wasn't the reason, because in those days, we were way out in the Orinoco Basin. We weren't in Caracas or Maracaibo. And so there were like country clubs with French, British, U.S. Oil people. And
so you were quite isolated.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. But, through the hard work of Pumalín and then other park areas in Chile and then Argentina, it was highly involved politically and culturally. So that's the trial by fire in terms of learning and using the language, right?
Oh, yeah. The minute I retired from Patagonia Company and moved to Patagonia, the place, it was full-time Spanish. And it was rough in the beginning, because it's really hard to be funny when you don't have the language. And it's really hard to talk about anything other than the weather or how are you? I'm fine. So yeah, it was very limiting for the first year or so.
Just a year. Wow. Because
Yeah, well, if you're immersed in it, as we all know, it's a sink or swim school of languages. There is no choice.
So, but let's talk a little bit about your turning points. Like, so you met Yvon Chouinard at age 15, and you were an avid, I presume you were at least starting out rock climbing then, and helped him with his work. And as you gradually took over the managing role at Patagonia and developed it into a world-class organization, something in you promoted social welfare as part of the fabric of the company. And I'm not quite sure where that came from.
Well, to be clear, first of all, I was a family climber. I was never a serious lead climber. So I always want to make that really clear. Well, really, so much of my, my family was very philanthropic in a local way. So the more you get, the more you give, whether it was through local community or the church. We were raised as Anglicans. But then the other part of really the development of my ethos, if you were to call it that, is through Yvon Chouinard and Melinda. They were the absolute drivers of not only what the company should stand for, but Melinda's work in childcare and all of these other things. That when you look at it today as the aggregate of what Patagonia Company is, that really is a reflection of the two of them. So I learned a lot from them, and I still on the board of the company 50 some years later, and I'm still learning from them.
That's so great. And then you and Doug went down to Chile because you both had experiences there prior that drew you. But I guess I'm kind of curious. I guess you have to, when you're thinking big, as you all did, turning your business earned wealth to conservation, you have to section out, some manageable task, right? Of course, your 15 million acres leveraged from 2 million of your own donation is not a small task, but it was focused and still is in Chile and Argentina. Was that because you thought you could have the biggest bang for the buck there, or what was your motivation?
Well, we got started there because Doug was a ski racer and training in the off season down in the South, as almost all ski teams did. And before the training sessions and afterwards, he would hitchhike around Chile and Argentina. He was broke, so he really was hitching around. And he really fell in love with it and never forgot that. And then in 1968, Yvon and Doug and a few friends drove from San Francisco down to the tip of Argentina to put up a route on Fitzroy, which is, of course, as you know, is a really emblematic area. So I think Yvon and Doug were really influenced by their time down there. And so when Doug got out of business, he was looking around for places that he could start to, what he called paying his rent for living on the planet. And he found this great place, what would eventually become Pumalin Douglas Tompkins National Park, just over 1 million acres. And that's how we got going down there. So I had been to Patagonia before on the Argentine side, but really we got started where we did because Doug had this history.
And life is like that. You never know what's going to happen. And when you find the opportunity, you run with it.
Yeah.
I can remember we were talking, this was at the Telluride Mountain Film Festival probably 4 or 5 years ago, and you had a talk there as well. And during it or our conversation, you basically told me, though I don't think it was directed at me, not to waste my space on the planet. That everybody has, some some gift, some inspiration, some opportunity. Some have greater potential than others. Everybody can act. And, you know, you've put together a lot of coffee table books, which are beautiful renditions of these protected areas. But there was also a summative book on wildlands philanthropy, which, again, a beautiful book, but summarized a number of major donors in history of wildlands around the world. Now, there are a lot of people in waiting who could do the very same thing. And if you were able to, and I imagine you've had the opportunity to reach out to these, you know, people of great, you know, power and wealth to follow your footsteps, what do you say to them that would hopefully be convincing about the pressures that we're facing and the need to park your resources here?
Oh, that's such a big question, but I guess I would start with this, that, what is it? Your last shirt has no pocket. So I really think that when you look about the world and you see the state of the extinction crisis, obviously climate change, and the conversion of wild nature to production, you see it's sort of a runaway train. So the clock is ticking very, very loudly, not only in my own biological clock, but in terms of the time we have to really change the end of the story that Greta and so many young people are worried about, and of course, so many of us. I think sometimes people with a lot of money or those without money forget that you can have a tremendous impact on this ever widening ecological front that we're really proud to be a part of. And the whole world is not going to be made up of national parks, but private lands, how we practice agriculture. Yes, buying up large tracts of land, especially in areas where carbon sequestration is especially evident. There are tremendous opportunities around the world for expanding territories, and many of it don't influence directly the idea of cutting off development, especially in developing countries. So I really believe we're so far past the point of inaction, and I'm talking about an individual level. I mean, it's insane to think that there are a lot of individuals and institutions that really are confounded by what they can do to join this what Doug always called this front, this movement that there's no going back. And I think he was right. This is only moving forward. And if you look at, albeit extremely slow and frustrating, the climate change move now, and the increase in conservation areas, but it takes all of us working.
Yeah, and I appreciate your taking it to the every person, because one thing I often think about is, you know, you throw a rock into a pool and these ripples go, and you don't know where they're going to land and who they're going to affect, but any particular act could start a chain of events that could change the world effectively.
Oh, yeah.
We just don't have that. We don't have that foresight. When now you're in the challenging role, having established these parks and with some forethought, having the notion of bringing them back sometimes to their former state, and that includes removing fences in Chacabuco, and includes breeding jaguars in Ibarra and Rhea's and Patagonia and so
we
on.
have 12 species we're working with right now.
12. So then the question is, it's always about what caused them to disappear to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
And are you reintroducing them into a situation where they're likewise doomed? And I know you're thinking about that. Do you want to talk a little bit about what those challenges are and how you forestall the same event?
Sure. Well, first of all, when we got started, we had no real thoughts about what we call today rewilding, because we got started in areas where, as far as we know, even today, 28 years later, that there aren't keystone species missing. But once we got into northern Argentina, into the Iberá wetlands and other projects, we began to ask, well, who's missing? And in some cases, in some important cases, it was keystone species to those areas. And so we really realized that, as some wise woman said, that landscape without wildlife is just scenery. So if you're really seriously into conservation, you can't go in and protect the territories, but leave them unfulfilled in terms of its true ecological health. And that's how we got started. And we had no idea how complicated it was and costly and the strategies to use. But today we have jaguars who have been missing in northern Argentina, in this area of northern Argentina, since the 1930s. We have jaguars back roaming free, cubs, mothers. The red and green shouldered macaws have been gone for 130 years, and today they're back flying, laying eggs, bearing chicks. The chicks have fledged. Oh gosh, we have a lot of examples. Giant anteater back, over 200 individuals roaming free for the last 10 years.
Were the Rheas hunted formerly?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Their eggs especially, but also the adults for meat.
Well, this is complicated stuff, right?
It is.
And not just
every species is different and requires completely different strategies than the one you just finished really working with. So
you get a bunch of experts who are, eager and able, but you had also the need for political acumen when it came to doing your, acquisitions and donations of land, as well as the financial side of keeping these places whole. And I remember a volcanic eruption even down in Pumalin, which threw a ash wrench in the works. But those kinds of things require certain abilities, and I imagine people are looking at you and looking at yours and Doug's successes and wonder, okay, how did they do so well, and what kind of magic sauce can I learn or find that I'll be able to apply in other locales around the planet? What do you think are your best attributes besides, a never let go, dogged commitment?
Relentlessness. Yes, that's what most people would say about me. First and foremost, I learned this when I was in my early 20s. Surround yourself with great people who know more than you do about every subject that you cross and have to assume. That's for sure. And a lot of the people whom I work with now have been there 20, 25, 26 years working together. That's the number one thing, because in this work, you're usually working in really isolated places. The weather is bad. You have to work with people who really have the same ideas and are willing to live and work in difficult circumstances. And then through that, some of us realize we're pretty good at negotiating. Some of us realize we're really good at political stuff. And then the really technical people, the biologists, scientists who are working with the Jaguar breeding center and things like that. So, we have very, very steady teams, and you end up, that's what I like to do. That's probably, I was the same way at Patagonia. I love putting teams together who are really smoking at what they do, and then just drive the bus toward a goal. There are always 30 goals in our heads, and really so much of what's said about us is about Doug and Kris, when in fact it's these teams in Argentina, in Chile, here in the States. So I always like to emphasize that, because I don't think you can work for decades and just keep turning out more and more, in this case, conservation and rewilding achievements, unless you're working with the best of the best. And I feel like I get to do that.
And then what do you do? I know you probably don't have enough hours in the day for this stuff, but what do you do to keep whole? Do you still get out and ski on occasion, or get out on a backpacking trip in nature? What do you do?
Doug and I went skiing once in 25 years.
Oh no!
Down on a volcano in southern Chile.
Okay.
We skinned up, skied down on brand new equipment we'd had for years, never touched it. That was it. That was the sum total of us going back to a lot of years skiing. Yeah, I really love the polar regions. So when I can, I try to go to Antarctica, and I've been trying to go to the Arctic for the last 2 seasons, and for weather and COVID and so on, haven't been able to. Yeah, I just came back from Montana a few days ago, and more than I have in 20 years, I am getting out a lot more now.
Oh, that's good. I like to hear that. I think, well, obviously, being around people and family is important to you, and living in Patagonia isn't necessarily, unless people come to visit you, when you go down there, you're obviously a little more isolated. You do have a lodge down there, and you've gotten involved a little bit in sustainable tourism. How's that going?
Quite a bit. Well, of course, really badly right now, but
no, but I mean more generally in your prep and your attitude and so on.
Oh, I think that I wholeheartedly continue to believe that national parks as a brand is one of the great ways to contribute to economic development in rural areas. And if you look at Yellowstone, where I just came out of, and if you looked at that 100 years ago or 150 years ago, it was very hard to get there. And this is the same case in a lot of the projects that we've been involved in, that they seem far away, difficult to get to, and yet little by little, with these new parks and other things that people can come to visit, they arrive, and they continually arrive in greater and greater numbers. So,
and I'm sure that they leave a good wake, and not just in the financial resources, but maybe they can contribute to projects that are there and be a part of it all.
Yeah, I think so. For years down in the Patagonia National Park, we had a very formal volunteer program, and the volunteers had to pay to come to work. And it was always full. And they took down almost 500 miles of fence line.
I remember that. That was fabulous. That's not a small undertaking.
So it's not only what they do for the transition from ranching territories into national parks, but it's also how they leave. It's fantastic to go to work every day. And down there, of course, many days you're miserable. It's blowing like hell. Sometimes it's snowing, whatever it is. And yet those are the times in our lives that we remember.
Yeah, more hardship is sometimes better. Well, listen, I have to be mindful of time because I think there's some things that Joe wants to show.
Good.
And I don't know if there's some questions that people might have queued up either now or after the films, but I'm so glad that people are hearing your voice, and
thanks, John.
So lucky to be associated with you in whatever small way. So thank you for taking time on this very special event. Joe, are you hanging out?
Yep, I'm right here. All right. Good. Well, what a great conversation. And Kristine, it's such an honor to have you joining the Global Biodiversity Festival. So thanks for making some time.
I'm so happy to be here.
All right. Yeah, amazing. Well, we are going to dive a little bit deeper into the rewilding. I've got 3 great videos that were just put together specifically for the festival. So we're going to get to explore 3 of the projects. So I'm going to share my screen quickly because as I talk about each one, I want to share a couple images that were sent my way. So we'll start off with this one. There we go.
Yeah.
So we're going to start with Ibarra. So in northeast Argentina, the vast wetlands of Ibarra rank among South America's largest freshwater reservoirs. It's crucial habitat for a host of species, but many have been lost to hunting and habitat loss in the 20th century. In 2018, Ibarra National Park was created with the help from Tompkins Conservation. Now the organization's strategic partner, Rewilding Argentina, is working to fully restore the wetlands by bringing back the anteater, pampas deer, collared peccary, maned wolf, red-legged sirima, bare-faced curassows, and red and green macaws. The team is now working to bring back top predators such as the giant river otter and the jaguar. Earlier this year, the team released the first jaguar family, a mother and her 2 cubs, into the wetlands, followed by her sister with her cubs 2 months later. These 6 individual cats are part of a larger foundational population set to be released over the course of this year. So join us to see the world's first jaguar reproduction center in the Ibarra wetlands. So let's switch over here and let's take a look at the video. Well, we are at the Jaguar Reintroduction Center, located in San Alonso, an island located in the heart of the Esteros de Ibra. The Esteros de Ibra is a large wetland located in the province of Corrientes, where a great diversity of species and climate converge. Within this island, we work with different reintroduction projects, among them the giant anteater, the collared peccary, the pampas deer, the jaguar, and the giant otter. Among these projects, the main objective is to bring the species back to locations where they used to inhabit but are currently not present. The loss or disappearance of species causes the interrelationships with each other and the environment to be lost. Therefore, what we do through rewilding is bring back those missing key pieces, not only in quantity, but in sufficient numbers to fulfill their ecological role. At Ibarra, we started working on reintroduction projects more than 10 years ago. At the Latin American level, it is a super challenging project because we work on reintroducing many species at the same time. Regarding these pens, today they are empty because we already released the first jaguars. We currently have 6 jaguars roaming free, 2 females with their cubs. Well, in the coming months, we hope to continue releasing more individuals to be able to return the top predator to the Esteros de Ibra. My work consists mainly in coordinating the reintroduction projects in Isla San Alonso. We are a team of 11 people, all working with the main objective of monitoring those populations of reintroduced specimens. It is a very dynamic, varied. Each person has an assignment, but we work together so that the projects can be successful. Every morning, first thing in the day, we check through the computer program, the satellite points of Iruna and Murira, the first females released in the Esteros de Ibra. Through these points, we have the daily location of where they have moved about and where they have hunted. Also, through video surveillance cameras, we can observe the rest of the individuals about to be released in the pre-release pens. We not only observe the behavior,
También,
but
a
with
través
this
de las
tool,
cámaras de
which are the
videovigilancia, podemos
cameras, we
observar al resto de
introduce
los
live
ejemplares que
prey,
están
feed them
próximos a ser
without them being
liberados
able
en
to
los
see
corrales
us
de
at the
dentro.
time of
No solo
providing
observamos
their
el
prey.
comportamiento, sino que a través de esta herramienta, que son las cámaras, podemos hacer los ingresos de presa viva, alimentarlos a ellos sin que nos puedan ver en el momento de darle la presa.
At this moment, we are observing Hato Bazio, a wild male that was donated by Brazilian institutions, which will soon be released. Well, now we are reaching the pre-release pens where the giant river otter reintroduction projects are taking place. This is Matias Greco, the person in charge of the project. Hello, how are you? I am Matias Greco. I'm in charge of the Giant Otter Reintroduction Project. I work for the Fundación Rewilding Argentina. And well, this is the corral. We have had Alondra for 2 years and Coco for a little less. And the truth is, they are a consolidated couple. Alondra and Coco are 2 giant otters that we have here in the pre-release corral. And well, now we are waiting to see if they can have pups, and at some point, possibly release them. Well, this is the pre-release pen that was built to house this couple. The idea is for the couple to reproduce and to create a well-established family of giant otters. The giant otter, this species, is a species that lives in groups of 10 to 12 individuals. So the idea is that they have offspring, that they rear them, and then release them as a consolidated family. The corral is made of tubings and this galvanized fence. It measures 40 meters by 20 wide. And well, the idea is to represent in a corral on San Alonso Island in the Ibera National Park, a corral that mimics the environment they will later be released to. Therefore, part is forest, part is water, 2 artificial burrows, and a natural burrow. We believe Alondra is pregnant because we saw the copulations, and now we are waiting for them to have pups. We believe that soon we will have pups. Unfortunately, the first litters were lost. It is something super normal. We are super positive. It is a very consolidated couple. It only remains for them to learn to take care of their pups.
Mide más o menos aproximadamente, son 40 metros de largo por 20 de ancho. Y bueno, la idea es representar en un corral acá en Iberá, en la isla San Alonso, en el Parque Nacional Iberá, un corral que sea una porción del ambiente que ellos después van a recibir afuera. Entonces, parte de monte, parte de agua, tiene 2 madrigueras artificiales y una madriguera natural que construyeron ellos mismos. Creemos que Alondra está preñada porque vimos cópulas y ahora estamos esperando que tengan cría. Creemos que dentro de poco, dentro de un par de días, vamos a tener crías. Las primeras camadas lamentablemente las perdieron, es algo súper normal, somos súper positivos, una pareja muy consolidada, solo resta que aprendan a cuidar a su cachorro.
El día siguiente,
The day after we released Mora, the first female we released along with Cara and Pora, her cubs. We went to the 30-hectare pen to remove the camera traps that we had set up. And walking around some wetlands, we began to see the first tracks of the jaguars that returned to the Esteros de Ibera. The truth is, it was a unique moment for me. There, I realized the top predator was really in the Ibera wetlands.
de que realmente el depredador tope estaba de vuelta en los esteros de Ibera.
All right. Well, Kristine, that's got to be a pretty incredible feeling, releasing a keystone predator back into its former habitat.
Yeah, it was, I think, January 6th when we released the first 3, something like that. And I thought, okay, if I died tomorrow, it's okay. I got to see this. So yeah, it represents so much work and so much determination, really. And the teams that made this possible, it's very hard to describe what it takes, where you have to live, the hours, which are 24/7. And so we all got together. We're all separated by COVID, but from Chile, Argentina, the United States, we all got together on the same Zoom and had a cocktail party. And it was, you had to come dressed as a Jaguar or you wouldn't be let in. So distance has been really hard since we can't really be together, but this was really a huge time for us.
Yeah, amazing. It sounds like it's just getting started. So that's got to be pretty exciting.
Yeah, it is.
All right. I'm going to share my screen again, and we're going to jump to another park here. We're going to travel now to Chile and a flagship park of South America. So Patagonia National Park was created in 2018 with a large land donation from Tompkins Conservation. The main valley was an enormous sheep farm degraded after a century of intensive ranching. Through a long process of restoration and rewilding, the native grasslands have recovered and wildlife has returned in numbers, including herds of guanaco, flamenco, puma, endangered huemul deer, and a population of, oops, those aren't changing. Let me try that again. There we go. And a population of Darwin's Rhea under restoration. Just take a look at some of those beautiful animals. Beautiful. So Tompkins Conservation Chile launched the Darwin's Rhea Breeding Center to prevent the local extinction of this iconic species of Patagonia. It's the only center dedicated to recovering the species in South America. Join us on a tour of the center, rewilding Rheas in this remote corner of Patagonia. Let's jump in. Let's take a look.
Hello, I'm Caroline Van Kilston, veterinary from the Patagonian Ñandú project, the center of breeding of Ñandú in the southern Patagonia, in the most southern part of Chile, where this kind of bird grows and breeds. And here we can see the land where we are working. And there's a weather, it's a very, very hard weather in autumn and winter. It's a very snowy and cloudy with cold temperatures. And this is a very golden day. We have luck. So we want to share with you the field of our work, the birds and the kind of work we do here to restore and rewild this place that was used for 30 years as an estancia of sheep breeding, of sheep production, so it was very, very damaged in the field of the flora and fauna. Now we have recovered most of the population of pumas, huemules, guanacos, and different kind of birds. In between it was the ñandú and also the condores and the eagles that lives in that part of the country and in the mountains. So come with me. We are going to see the installations and the part where we are doing the specific work of breeding the Rhea pennata, the species of ñandús that we are working here for. This park was bought by Kristine and Douglas Tompkins from an estancia of sheep production, as I said before, 15 years ago. And since that days, we take away the animals, the sheep, goats and cows, and we free the place for the animals that were naturally living here. We were working for years, getting out the fences, making biological corridors for different animals, especially guanacos, huemules, and ñandús. And now, since 10 years ago, we started a project that was focused on breeding the ñandú. Because the population was very low here, because of the use of this land for reproductions objectives. And now, so we decided to reproduce and inbreeding the Nyandus in a way that we could take care of them and take care of the little ones, and then after the reproduction is done, we liberate them in another place. Here we can see our adults that are inbreeding in the center. We are going to try to get inside and don't make them be so nervous. The one that you are seeing now is one of our males. There is no difference between males and females apart the size. The males are a little bit bigger than females, but there is not another characteristic difference. They are very curious, and here they are almost used of our presence. We have here 3 males and 4 females now in breeding, and they are starting the season of breeding, which start kind of May and June. This is the shape of a female, of a male Nyandu when they see strangers. But he's also very peaceful. They are very peaceful animals, and the way that they protect themselves from the predators in the steppes is running. They run at even 70 kilometers per hour. So there is the only way that they can save their lives is running. They are not flying birds. They are running birds. Now we are going to go to visit the other place where it is a place of liberation of the little ones. Here they are raised and we bring them to Choique Puesto, where we liberate them to the wilderness. Well, we have arrived after 10 minutes of driving from Puesto Ñandú to Puesto Choique, which is the place where we make the liberation and pre-liberation and liberation of the little charos, the babies of Ñandús.
All right. What a way to end the video. Just great to see that release as they just take their first steps back out there. That's incredible. And it doesn't look like too shabby of a place to call your office.
Yeah, it's been a great office. We've had a lot of great offices over the last few decades.
And Kris, those young Rhea chicks don't have any trouble feeding themselves when released? Is it all?
No. They're completely prepared to take care of themselves by that time.
All right, we've got one more project to visit. I'm going to pop my screen share in one more time for a couple more photos. All right. Rewilding, Argentina's newest project, is on the southern coast of Argentine Patagonia. Nourished by cold Antarctic currents, the Patagonian coast boasts one of the highest rates of biodiversity in Argentine waters. Yet the region lives under constant pressure from industrial fishing, invasive exotic species, and hunting. In the sea bottom, trawling for shrimp is destroying the seabed, depleting fish stocks, and creating untreated organic waste that contaminates local groundwater. On land, a century of intensive sheep ranching has led to the desertification of the fragile Patagonian steppe and threatened the remaining top predators and herbivores. Today, the team of Patagonia Azul is working to restore these damaged ecosystems by helping native wildlife to return. One of those key species is the fur seal. Join this group of researchers working in the South Atlantic to find out more. All right, let's get one more video in here. Well, we're here with Lucas, our biologist from Patagonia Azul project. We are in the province of Chubut in Argentina, near a town called Camarones. And as you see, we are in a boat in the middle of the sea, surrounded by seabirds, sea lions, whales, and dolphins. Lucas is going to tell you a little bit about where we are exactly and what we are going to do here. How are you, Lucas?
Y acá Lucas les va a contar un poco dónde estamos exactamente y qué es lo que vamos a hacer acá. ¿Cómo estás, Lucas?
Very well. Well, I am the coordinator of the Rewilding project in Patagonia Azul, Chubut, as Nick said. And today we are in Isla Rasa, a small rocky island that emerges just out of the sea, 14 kilometers from the nearest island. We are here with the idea of studying how to capture South American fur seals for a tagging project with satellite transmitters. Well, as you can see, we are surrounded by fur seals. The conditions are not the best, but they allow us to get a little closer to the coast and study this maneuver. Our purpose in this place is to be able to install a platform with a cage to be able to capture fur seals. And well, today we came with the idea of examining the seafloor to see how to secure the platform and how to perform that maneuver later on.
Y bueno, hoy vinimos con la idea de estudiar un poco el fondo para ver cómo afirmar esa plataforma y cómo, bueno, realizar esa maniobra después.
Great. This island, is it inside the park, Lucas, or is it outside?
Esta es la única isla acá de la zona que quedó fuera.
This is the only island in the area that was left outside the park, so it does not have any degree of protection. However, 60% of the reproductive population of South American fur seals in Argentina are found here. That means these fur seals don't have any kind of protection. Of course, when fur seals meet and reproduce, they are unprotected. I see divers getting ready. Do you want to introduce them? Well, here I introduce you to part of the Rewilding Argentina team. Wave Santiago at the helm of the boat. The one who is putting on the mask. Take off the mask so I can properly introduce you. Juan Marcos Ricardi, who is celebrating his birthday today. And behind, we have Mateus Di Martino, our veterinarian. Here, we have Santiago. Well, my name is Santiago Fernandez. I have a bachelor's degree in biological sciences. Here we are in Patagonia Azul, working together with Rewilding Argentina in a project for satellite tagging South American fur seals. We are at Isla Rasa. It is one of the islands that is outside the Patagonia Astrola interjurisdictional park, which is still unprotected. It is not within the park. The idea is to incorporate it into the park and provide protection to the population of fur seals. Now, the boys are carrying on dives to check the seabed, to be able to install a platform with a cage, to capture and satellite tag individuals.
Para corroborar el fondo marino, para poder instalar una plataforma con una jaula para poder capturar a estos individuos y luego poder colocarle los transmisores satelitales.
You have Marcos here at starboard. What do you see? Well, the idea is to look at the seafloor a little bit. See where we are going to anchor the raft. Now we have Marcos, who is down there. It's a bit murky. There are a lot of fur seals. Let's see what happens.
Está un poco turbio, hay un montón de lobos. Vamos a ver qué pasa.
Take this, Matty.
La idea de la colocación de los transmisores es conocer.
The idea for this tagging project is to know the behavior and the movements these individuals do in this area, and to learn a little more about the species. Is the South American fur seal threatened? The fur seal population, a diver came out. We almost hit it. Fortunately, this population is in recovery. Before, it had almost been decimated for their fur. Being fur seals, their coat is thick. It is also called a fur seal for that reason. It was used in the fur industry. Luckily, it is not being hunted, but it inhabits very fragmented areas. There can be found on the coast of Uruguay. There are very few on the coast of Buenos Aires, at this latitude near Patagonia Zoo Park, and then in the Falkland Islands and the Isla de los Estados. In the middle, there is no reproductive colony or roost. The idea is to observe if there are movements between these sites and if the fur seals that breed here go north to the Falkland Islands or Isla del Estado to learn a little more about the species.
La idea es observar si hay movimiento entre estos sitios y los lobos que se reproducen aquí van hacia el norte o van hacia Islas Malvinas o Isla de los Estados, y para aprender un poco más del especie.
Buenísimo, muchísimas gracias.
De nada.
All right. Well, first of all, thorough apologies for my first ever voiceover work. I don't think I have a career in it. And second of all, that water, oh my gosh, that makes me want to dive so bad when I see that water.
Yeah.
I see them in there with the fur seals. But again, another incredible project and in our ocean. So definitely pretty darn important to look after those ecosystems as well.
Yeah.
Have they put on any tags yet, Kris?
I don't think so. I mean, but I have not heard of any tags going on yet.
It's interesting because, you know, having done years of fur seal research, we always captured them on land. So I'm kind of curious how they're planning and why they're planning to do it in the water.
I'll let you know.
Okay.
As soon as I hear the latest, I'll pass it on to you.
Okay. That'd be great.
Right.
It's great to see you expand into a marine setting.
Yeah, it's really important. It's something we'd wanted to do for a long time. And now we have, with a lot of the big donations out of the way, the next generations of our projects are very, very focused on going for land, but also the coastal waters contiguous to it.
Great.
You know, 0 to 12 miles. So that's what we're working on now.
Excellent.
So those are, I mean, 3 incredible projects, and I know there's others, but I'm wondering if there's a wish list project, if there's something that's on your mind that you want to sink your teeth into.
Oh God, always.
Always.
While we were finalizing the last 1 million acre donation to the country of Chile and trying to get leverage off of that in partnership with the government, we were already designing new projects that, as I said, are both land and sea. So by the time the donations were finished, we were headlong into the new projects in both countries. So yeah, I think, like I said, I feel like we're all running against the clock. So our goal is to do it faster, same scale or larger, and maintain the high quality. That's our kind of our North Star.
And I would encourage people to make donations to Tompkins Conservation, because these projects don't happen out of thin air. And the more Kris and your company get, the more you can do.
That's right. We'll pop that link up there. We'll leave it up there for a couple minutes. Definitely work. I mean, after seeing those 3 videos, definitely worth contributing to. And I mean, you know, we hosted the CEO of the E.O. Wilson Half Earth Foundation today.
Yes.
And, you know, she was talking about E.O.'s moonshot. And, you know, that's what we need. We need those big goals. We need those lofty goals to reach for. And that's how exciting, amazing things happen.
Yeah, I really believe that. I think we have nothing to lose. I keep saying this to anybody who will listen. If you have an opportunity, and so much of this is opportunistic, then take it, because the worst possible thing that can happen is that it fails. And in light of the circumstances we face, so what if you fail? The idea is just to keep going. And like I said earlier, it doesn't matter where you're from, who you are, you can step into this with local groups, find out who your neighbors are on your block, who are those birds, who are those little furry guys running across your street. Get to know all your neighbors. Plus it's a gas. I mean, it is.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
People and they really are the days you remember in your life, regardless of your age or where you live.
Yeah, no, that is such a great point. There's so much conservation that can be done right in your own community.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, and the people who share, like everyone that you've invited to this wonderful festival, Joe, people who share that heart, you know, what's not to like. You can just enjoy each other's kind of reinforcing the beauty that you see on the planet and doing good work together. So it really is a community with open arms and huge import.
Mm.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Kristine, thank you so much for joining us. John, a great interviewer as always. Thank you so much to both of you for joining the Global Biodiversity Festival, and hope you're able to tune in and see if I'm still standing by Sunday night.
I'm pretty sure you will be, and I just want to congratulate you, Joe, for taking this on. The breadth of what you've taken on, and I think about this gathering 50 years from now, and it will be something. So, another pioneer.
Well, I appreciate that. I've got a great crew who, when I pick up the phone and say, remember last year when we planned it in 3 weeks? Let's do it this year with 72 straight hours. What do you think? And they say yes. So it's always good to have a good team that you can rely on behind you.
Great. Thanks, John. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you, Kris. Thanks, Joe.
Bye, Joe. Good luck for the rest of the hours on tap.
Have a great weekend. Thanks so much.
Yeah.
Take
all
care.
the best.
Bye-bye.